Safety and Fire by Mother Fluffer. Chapter 12. "What are you doing?" Izuku asked, watching Burnin as she brought up the internet and began typing. "I'm getting the news up so you can see the fight. I like watching them. Endeavor is the kind of hero I want to be." Burnin smiled. Izuku beamed happily and kept an eye on the screen as the news came up. His eyes lit up as Endeavor came onto the screen. The media were following him with the camera as he gave chase to the villain, yelling orders for them to go after the victims. "So cool," Izuku smiled, getting comfy in his seat. He ended up leaning against Burnin, who wrapped an arm around him. "I know, right?" she agreed. "I was so honored when he took me on as a sidekick. It was a dream come true." Izuku looked up at her. Burnin smiled at him softly. "We're more than just boss and sidekicks here. We're one big family. I don't know about you, Izuku, but I know your case is super important to Endeavor. I've never seen him so worried. So we can all see you mean a lot to him. So, welcome to the Flame Agency family, little man." Izuku blushed happily. Burnin held him close as they watched Endeavor fight. A few sidekicks would peek in to check on them every few minutes and would leave them with a small smile. Enji huffed as he got back to the agency. That was a rough fight, but they were able to get the villain to the police with minimal injuries. He wanted to hit the showers immediately, but he wanted to see Izuku first. He could hear giggling from his office and he peeked in, not wanting to interrupt what was going on. Burnin and Izuku seemed to be in the middle of a game of heroes. Burnin had apparently dug out an Endeavor onesie that he received as a prototype that was never released. He smiled and backed away. He could let them play while he got clean. Enji entered his office again. Izuku was beaming up at Burnin as she tapped a finger to her lips thoughtfully. "Okay, how about this one? There's a villain who goes around calling himself Black Mist." "Oh, warping," Izuku replied happily. "How are you so sure?" she asked curiously. "My uncle had several different villains bringing him up when talking to them. He apparently works for someone working deep underground. They mention how he's there one minute and then just seems to fold in on himself and vanish. Warping is the only thing that makes sense, and with a name like Black Mist, if his body has a mist-like structure, it would be easy to see why it looked like he folded in on himself." Izuku told her happily. "Damn, kid, your skills are crazy," Burnin laughed. "And all that from what people have said? Kid, you're going places with that mind." Izuku giggled happily. Enji chuckled as he caught Izuku as he ran at him. He lifted him up as Izuku embraced him tightly. Enji hugged him back lightly, smiling at the pure joy Izuku had built up within. "I saw the fight. It was so cool," Izuku gasped happily. Enji chuckled, ruffling his hair. "One day, I'll see you fighting villains and saving people." Enji smiled. Izuku blushed happily and nodded. "I'll become a good hero," Izuku cheered. "With Shoto. I know you will, and I can't wait to see what you will do," Enji told him. Izuku beamed happily. Izuku fell asleep on the way back to the Todoroki home. Enji held him carefully, doing his best not to wake the child. Rei was at the door as he reached the end of the driveway. She smiled as they reached her. "When did he fall asleep?" she asked softly, reaching up to pet Izuku's hair. "Just as we were preparing to leave," Vernon was playing with him when I was out on call. Engie smiled. Wore him out pretty good. Ray chuckled softly, kissing Isaku's forehead, but kissed her husband's cheek. Best leave him to nap a little longer then. I'll make him something light for dinner. Ray smiled. Engie put Isaku down to nap in Shoto's room, his youngest son peeking in with a small frown. You okay there, Shoto? He asked softly. Is Isaku okay? He asked as his father left the room. He was playing with Vernon. He's just taking a small nap 'cause it wore him out, just like when you and your siblings were younger. Engie smiled. But I don't get that tired anymore. Shoto frowned. Is he ill? Of course not, but we don't know the full extent to the neglect his parents put on him. For all we know, he might not be eating right, and so he has a lot less energy to burn through, Engie explained softly. Shoto seemed to think about it before accepting the answer. So, he'll be okay? He said. Engie ruffled his hair. I think so, yeah. With you, Toya, Natsuo, and Fuyumi, I think he'll be fine, Engie told them. Shoto giggled happily before heading off to play with his siblings and to warn them to be quiet 'cause Isaku was napping. Engie joined Ray in the kitchen. She gave him a small smile. I heard Shoto. I'm glad the kids have bonded with him. It's a relief to know Isaku has even more people on his side too. Your sidekicks were obvious to fall for him. Ray smiled. Lunch Rush has as well. Isaku asked for his autograph. He was happy to give it, of course, and he gave Isaku some lunch. Engie smiled. I think Nezu is pretty taken with him too. Oh, and Aizawa, Eraserhead. Oh, reminds me. Engie pulled out the work Nezu gave Isaku out of his pocket, looking over it himself. Nezu gave Isaku some work, so when the kids do homework after dinner, Isaku can give this a try. He was pretty excited about it earlier. Ray took it and had a look over it. This seems so high level. Nezu really thinks Isaku can do this? She asked. He seems pretty sure, Engie nodded. When we get Isaku, we should see if we can get his IQ tested. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a genius, Ray chuckled lightly. Me neither. Now, do you need a hand with dinner? He offered. Ray kissed his cheek. Would love your help, she smiled. Curled up in the futon with the frozen music box chiming its soft lullaby, Isaku cuddled into the Vulpix with a small smile as he slept, warm and comfy and finally feeling safe. Hey everyone, it's Tempe again. That's the end of this chapter, and if you liked this, please follow the links in the description to go to the original work and support the author. If you liked this, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If you have any suggestions for fanfictions or how to make this better, please leave a comment or you can send the suggestion to my email in the description. Alright, thanks guys. See you next time. Bye.